I'd like to call this February 13th, 2025 Board of Education work session to order. Please take the roll.
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Ms. Cobain?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Ms. Stavcek?
Here.
And Mrs. Hausum?
Here. All present. We could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is our strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give an actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. Next, we have public comment. We do have one public comment. Bonnie Tennis. Thank you, Bonnie. You have approximately 3 minutes. If you could state your name and address.
I was going to apologize to Mr. Superintendent. Please pass it on. I injected myself last time in his comments, so I apologize for that. Okay, my name is Bonnie Tennis, 9407 Brushwood Lane. Comment today is number 1 item on my list, which is attendance incentive, advocating for elimination. Until year 2022, this benefit was only offered to certificated and non-certificated employees, but as of 2022, it's also offered to administrative and leadership employees. In 2001, there was a state audit performed, and one of the items reviewed was the attendance incentives. At that time, the incentive was $150 for full-time employee and $75 for part-time employee per quarter. After Strongsville District's attendance was compared to other districts, auditor made a comment that attendance incentive is not effective and that Strongsville City School District should assure that the attendance incentive offer to its certificated employees provides a savings to Strongsville schools. By looking at the contract from 2002, we see that Strongsville City School District somehow determined that it was cost-effective because the incentive was increased from $150 and $75 to $200 and $100 per quarter. One can look at the teacher's detail report that is provided on Ohio Department of Education and Workforce websites and see that the attendance is not improving regardless of the incentive being offered. In 2017, the average attendance percent for full-time teachers were 94.84%, and as of 2024 was 92.8%. When expressed in number of days based on 180 days days per year, in 2017, average days missed by a teacher was 9.49 days per teacher, and 2024 was 13.24 days per teacher. Total missed days in 2024 was 4,661 days. That's calculated, of course, and it's only for full-time teachers. And if one would divide that by 184 days, that's like having 25.33 teachers missing the whole year. Based on that data, the attendance is not improving, yet in the last contract in 2023, the odds for the incentive were increased from $200 and $100 per quarter to $150 per month. Went from possible $800, means 4 quarters times $200, to $900, 9 months times $100. Based on a previous contract, if teacher would miss days, the pay in 2020 for attendance merit for earned employees was over $91,000. Teachers' payout was $46,900. That does not seem like a lot, but since 2001, if one would take $40,000 multiplied by 24 years, that would add up to $960,000. Putting that $46,900 in levy dollars per $200,000 home, it would take 134 homes to support this incentive every year, and now it's even more. Not only teachers' odds were increased, but this incentive is offered now to leadership and administrative employees. It's offered per quarter, $200 per quarter, and now it's 5 quarters. Somehow it's 5 quarters in a year. So the leadership team So there are 21 leader positions and 5 quarters. Per each quarter is $200. Let's assume that each employee will be paid at least $600. 2 quarters missed, it comes to $12,600 minimum for this. And then for administrative, now the administrative minimum starting salary for administrative employees is $81,000, but with the pickup is $92,000. There are 24 administrative positions. 24 administration position that is $600, which is the minimum, could cost another $14,400. So now by offering this intense incentive to all employees with new terms, it could easily increase the pay to $200,000 a year, especially now when number of employees is increasing every year. $200,000 in attendance, $200,000 in VPG that I brought it last time, that's $400,000 a year. That is hefty price for residents to pay in addition to already more than reasonable compensation. Every job requires from us adults to show up, show up to work, and we are getting compensated for it. Everyone has a right to take a sick day or sick days when they are sick or exhausted. But this benefit does not reward perfect attendance or promotes good attendance. Teachers could miss 2 months of work and still get $700 paid. The leadership and administrator could miss 100 days a year and still in 2 months and still, on 1 quarter and get $800. I mentioned that Strongsville offers more than reasonable compensations. In 2024, there was 352 full-time teachers. Out of those 352, 116 were making $100,000 or more. That's close to 30%, and 63 were making over $90,000 or more. Almost 51% of all teachers were making $90,000 or more. And with extra earnings, this number would be a lot higher. With 2.75 increase in 2025, there will be minimum of 121 teachers making $100,000 or more. That's over 30%, and 68 teachers making $90,000 or more percent. That goes from 51 in 2024 to almost 50%. 54% in 2025. So yes, this incentive should not be offered and should be eliminated. To this board and this administration might not look like a lot of money, but for many people it is. So far, this incentive and VPG might be costing residents, as I said, around $400,000. Well, thank you. That's it. I tried to be fast. And another comment I would like to make about the building. I know you. My comment might not count or anything, but I think the original idea of building the offices next to preschool was a very good, because that would be close to schools. And but buying this building, it doesn't make right, especially when the kids are in trailers, and it should be reversed. I think administration should be in trailers and kids should be in buildings. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Next on the agenda is our approval of minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2025 regular board meeting. All audio and recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes and are available upon request through the treasurer's office. Video recordings shall be maintained based on the availability of the selected digital online platform. All right. Next, I would like to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Jenny Pelko.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum, and I am going to turn it over to Dr. Ryba, who's with us virtually this evening.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, thanks for at least letting me join with you virtually. I thought it was in the best interest of everybody that I keep my germs and cold to myself over here. But I'm so proud of the work that our team has done over the last 2 years as a part of our strategic plan. And twice a year, we get the opportunity to meet with the board and share the updates that we're doing. So over the past couple months, we've been putting this presentation together for you. And so, Jenny, as we go to the next slide, we know that we, through a variety of community input opportunities, we developed our strategic plan that really at the heart of it is the skills and the model Mustang that we want to develop for our students around these 4 strategic priorities that Ms. Hausum shared at the beginning of the meeting. And so when we get into the details on the next slide of the 3-year plan, you can see there's a variety of objectives that make that up. And so what we did is we asked the Board of Education, hey, out of all the work that we're doing, obviously we can't fit updates for all of it. What are some updates that we want to share and give? And we're going to go through those with you here in a little bit. but I just want to give credit to some of our team members that may not be able to share tonight based on the topic. But there's great work being done in all areas of the strategic priorities. Every Colt member and some of our principals lead each of these objectives, and every administrator in this district is a part of the work that we do for the strategic planning. So the progress that we're going to share for the selected objectives today are not about one small group, but it's about every administrator in our district doing a ton of work to help make our district a better place and to reach our purpose and our mission for our kids and our communities. So as we can see on the next slide, based on the board's feedback, there were 3 areas and 3 different strategic priorities that we wanted to focus on today. And so the first is under leveraging funding and facilities. And Steve's going to come up here in a minute and talk about the work that we've been doing in safety and security. Then next we'll talk under the realm of culture and climate. We'll talk about employee well-being, and I've got some of my colleagues that are going to help join in. And then finally, we've got another team that's going to give some updates on transforming teaching and learning and what we're doing in classroom instruction. So as you can see, board members, on the next slide and at your table, you have a note catcher that we put together for you. We hope that, obviously, there's a lot of information. I know if I was in your seat, I'd have a lot of ideas or questions or thoughts to share. But what we're asking you to do is we'll have times for you to share those ideas, but we want to capture all of your notes and thoughts. So each page, you got 4 pages. Each page relates to each section. So the first page is related to Steve. Second is related to me and employee well-being. And third is related to classroom instruction. And then there's a fourth one that is just about, hey, if you have any ideas, any thoughts that may not fit into one of these areas, jot it down. At the end of the meeting, Jenny's going to make copies of all of your papers, so we have those. That way, if we're not able to address it during the meeting, we're able to follow up on some suggestions or areas of focus that you want us to have that were able to be discussed during our time together today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve to get the conversation started.
Good evening, everyone. So the title of this part of the plan, strategic plan, at this point, 4.1 is safety and security. And what this addresses is that we're going to keep continuing to review and communicate all aspects of physical security throughout the district to make sure that we're being consistent throughout the buildings and that we're keeping the students and staff and visitors as safe as possible when they're in our buildings. Of course, partnering with all of our first responders in the community to do so. So I did have conversations with those first responders, specifically Strongsville Police Department, our SROs, to talk about the state of our buildings as far as through the lens of safety and security. And this is from those conversations and conversations with other staff at the schools, what we felt our strengths were. And of course, one of the strengths that we've done a while ago, but we've shored it up even more, is the safe entryway. I remember when I took over, we had some places where you walked into the middle of the building to get to the office, and that just was not a sustainable model anymore with what's been going on in the world. So we did that project, and we took it a step further by putting in security film, bullet-resistant film, visitor management system that kept everyone in the vestibule. So that is, and from everyone I had conversations with, that's been a very good addition for safety and security in the building because we can vet people before we have them come in. Also, from their, literally the boots on the ground with the SROs and other officers that are in our buildings all the time, they are seeing that the buildings and the classrooms are secured, especially during the school day. We've stressed with the staff and faculty that the doors need to remain closed, and that's being followed in the buildings. Of course, with the addition of the MCUs, the mobile classroom units, there's been some challenges to that because now we have some students that at various times during the day they're outside of the physical constraints of the building. However, we've been able to put some resources, allocate some resources into that, and we feel like that's also in a good spot, or as good as it can be. We do have added cameras so that the students can be monitored as they're coming in and out. We put key fobs on the doors so that The staff can have quick access in and out of the building. Staff have been reallocated at certain times so that when there's a huge influx of kids coming in, there's always adults around, and there's always the ability to monitor what has happened as students are outside the building in those areas. The next one is the police presence in the buildings. Statistically, anytime you read about these incidents that are unfortunate that happen in schools, the response time is the most important aspect of mitigating whatever emergency and whatever disaster is going on. We're very blessed that we do have police officers in our buildings so many times, and that's at every level. Yes, we do have full-time SRO at the middle school and high school, but there's constant police presence at the elementary schools and the preschool as well. So that's been, a huge part of keeping us safe. And then also, about an estimated, of course, 90% of our security camera coverage has happened throughout the buildings. This is a huge initiative with the last safety grants, was to get our camera coverage where we felt it needed to be. Before that grant, we were averaging about 8 cameras in each elementary building. Now we're averaging 30. We also increased what we had at the middle school and the high school. Not as drastically because those were new buildings and those had a good surveillance package when they were renovated and built. But the high school the elementary schools are now covered, and we were also able to get security cameras at the preschool, which we hadn't had previously before that grant. The last strength that everyone discussed is that the drills are being performed at the building level. The staff know what to do. They know what drills that we go through. They know the procedures. In as much as you can be prepared for an emergency by doing drills, I feel like, and the officers feel like, and the other staff I've talked to, is that we're in a good spot of preparedness. Of course, when an emergency happens and the chaos ensues that happens with such an emergency, I'm sure we'll look back and say, well, maybe we could have tweaked this here and there. But I feel like with the procedures and the policies that we have in place at the individual buildings, that we're in a good spot, in a good state of preparedness. Continue? Okay. All right. So the next part is, what are some areas that we want to focus on as we take this to the next level? So the first one, and it's broken into three specific areas, is working with the police to create a schedule for district-wide safety protocols and procedures. So while everyone knows the fire drills, the tornado drills, the intruder drills, we have some district initiatives such as CPR and first aid, stop the bleed, maybe some new techniques and new protocols when it comes to intruder drills. We need to put those on the calendar, incorporate those into professional development on a annual basis to make sure that whether it's a refresher or whether it's a new teacher coming in, that everyone is well versed in what to do. Unfortunately, with some of these initiatives, when there's the first push, everybody's on board, and then it kind of trails off until that incident that happens. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, I remember that Stop the Bleed training. When was that? And what am I supposed to do?" We want to make sure that we're refreshing everybody's minds and introducing them into our safety protocols as we go. The next thing is to audit, and I've begun this with the building administrators, and then as I get to the high school and middle school, of course, I'll integrate the SROs. But as I said, we're at 90%. We have cameras that were purchased through the safety grant that were designed to be stock. But we want to use that stock as much as possible to move that 90% as close to 100% as possible. And that's not only the inside the building, but also the immediate vicinity outside the building. So we've already begun doing this. For example, at the middle school, we realized we had some severe blind spots on the stairs. Those were taken care of. There's cameras there on the stairs. So just going through the buildings, making sure that the cameras are performing as well as they should, that the views that we're getting are the best that they could possibly be, and erasing all of those blind spots that are present in our buildings. And then the third one is, as we move to the next level, investigate the use of a third-party product or a third-party company to help ensure all the protocols, equipment, procedures, and training are moving towards our goal of safe and secure buildings. So to bring that abstract to a more specific, there are systems out there that we have seen in the news that maybe a teacher is wearing a device, and if there's an emergency, they hit a button. Or there's an app on everyone's phone that they download, and if there's an emergency, they hit the button. Or it's on the computer, and if there's an emergency, they click on that icon. And that just gets the responders there that much sooner. We have not taken it to that level yet, but that's something that definitely, as more safety and security money becomes available, or we're able to allocate more safety and security money, we can look at those types of things. Even going, to another step on that, I put on here student attendance. We can use and manipulate our current visitor entry system to be a student entryway system. And there's even systems out that will track where students are on a daily, if not period by period basis. So those are things that we can start to investigate. These companies will also even go down to the granular of streamlining all of our forms so they're all the same. So that if there is a reunification, we're all using the same data, the forms to fill out the same data, so there's no disparity between the buildings. So just bringing everything under one form and one protocol. So those are the areas that we feel like moving forward that we can focus on, but knowing that we're on a pretty good foundation right now with our safety and security as we sit here.
Thank you, Steve. So any questions right now based on our strengths or next steps that the board wants to share?
Do we have anyone that is checking doors or entryways at designated times that are kind of just doing a walkthrough at like given on the hour, every half hour, every whatever?
I don't have information on how often it happens, but I do know that we have the SROs and custodians who go around at times to make sure that everything's secure.
And is anyone reviewing camera footage other than when there's like a complaint or an issue or and something that needs investigated? Like, is anyone looking to see if at nighttime anyone happens to be walking around, see if doors are open or if windows are open when it's nice outside?
So we don't watch them live, and we
Yeah.
don't have anyone that watches them really unless there's a complaint.
Alright.
But that's something that we can look into as far as, just having somebody there
Yeah.
and
Just to see if
watching.
anyone's like
Yeah.
checking stuff out, looking inside or,
Usually what we find is when we're looking, I know in my experience, when I'm looking because of this complaint, I'll see about 5 other things.
Yeah.
So,
The only other thing, and you don't have to answer it now, but I just wonder if there's anything else we need to be doing for the mobile units that we aren't already, because they're very exposed and there's so much traffic in and out of them. So I don't know if that goes, Jenny, to the FAQs
Yeah.
or what, but that's just the one thing that is newest to us, to make sure we've investigated all the possible things with the police department for that.
okay.
I think that might go back to like having an SRO at all the buildings at the elementary level. That we mentioned before, but I think that's probably your only way to like really secure those buildings with the kids going in and out. And I don't know another way unless there is one, but I don't think it's the safest way to do stuff. We don't have a choice, but because when those kids go out and that door locks, like coming in, there's just that time when they're like going back and forth. It's scary a little bit because you never know, especially at Chapman, they have like that whole field behind them and those kids are walking there and, there could be people just sitting up there waiting, so you hate to be skeptical of everything, but I've always been a believer. I'd rather spend the money on that than something else. So it's my 2 cents.
Anything else for Steve? Well, thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so as Steve transitions, I'm going to ask my colleagues to come up around the table. So as they come up, I'll introduce them. So you got Lisa Supalak, who is a teacher at Kinsner Elementary School. You got Jennifer Tedeschi, who's a teacher at Moraski Elementary School. Teresa Karshnek, who's our parent mentor. Carla Ganem, who's a high school art teacher. And then Ryan's also going to join us up here for his work in this area of employee wellness as well. So just so you know, you guys don't have to look at me. That's okay. I can say. It's lovely to see all of you, but
We have the world.
I don't want to be rude.
just so you're aware, the 4 staff members that are with me, we have a wellness team that we've had for a number of years here, and that wellness team represents teachers and staff in every building and every department throughout all of our employee categories. And so they are the heart and soul of the work that we're doing for employee well-being. And I always feel it's better to hear from the people that are doing the work and in the work to see what kind of impact we're having. So just another thank you to those 4 ladies for being here and giving up time tonight to be with us and share the part of the work that they're doing with us. So when we talked about this with the board, we asked kind of if we're going to talk about employee well-being, what's on your mind? And these questions you see on the slide here are what you shared. So what are the factors that are impacting employee well-being? What work are we doing to create a premier working environment, and what's our next steps, and how are we going to know if this stuff is working? So, again, just like Steve said with his safety and security item, we do have a strategic plan, and we have 2 strategic planning objectives that relate to employee well-being. And the first one, as you can see there, is about staff culture, feedback, and problem solving. Basically saying, how can we create a positive organizational culture? How can we build connections between administration and staff? How can we create purposeful systems of employee engagement and connection and recognition? Because when you're engaged and working together, that's all going to enhance not only our culture as a district or our culture as a building, but the work that we're all here to do, which is on behalf of our kids. So we're going to talk a lot more about that, but I'm going to turn it over to Ryan to share what his objective is focused on.
Yeah, so our employee recruiting and onboarding, so Strongsville City Schools will create and implement a system that actively recruits, attracts, onboards, and retains a high-quality staff, administrative leadership, teacher support, and substitutes that has the culture, knowledge, mindset, and experience to meet and support the needs of our students.
So with that, when we take a look at both of those together, is obviously we've got to attract and retain and then keep great employees. And then once we get them here, that retention part is about making sure that it's a great work environment for everybody to belong. So board members, at your table, you should have 3 Post-it notes. And so what I want you to do is take a second and get those 3 Post-it notes out. And what I want you to think about is, what do you think are the top 3 factors impacting employee well-being and education today? And I want you to put one on each of those 3 Post-it notes. So again, what do you think are the top 3 factors impacting employee well-being and education today? Take a few minutes and write down your ideas, and Jenny will give me a heads up when it looks like you guys got it written down.
I know. We'll put that in the feedback for next time. Thinking music. I think we're ready, Cameron.
No cheating here.
All right, so what I'd like to do is, we just want to get a pulse from the board about what's on your mind, what you think are the greatest factors impacting employee well-being. So, Rich, why don't we start with you, go around the table, just pick one. And if other people have something in the same flavor as Rich's, just kind of share that so we could see. But want everybody to share one, and then also share if they had something similar. So, Rich, go ahead and get us started.
So I had external expectations.
Did anybody have something similar to Rich's external expectations?
Yeah,
I
I
did.
had expectations versus the time of the time in the day, time of the week, materials and resources available.
I think mine kind of went with that parent feedback involvement.
And I have almost exactly what Haley has.
And I just had teacher burnout. So I guess that all kind of coincides with what that is.
Michelle, did you have a one that was different than what Rich said?
Yeah, I put job satisfaction or fulfillment.
Anybody else? Anyone else have anything in that realm?
I think mine's kind of similar. Self-induced stress, always wanting to be better and keep up with changing times.
Laura, anything else on your list you put in there?
Ever-changing state mandated, just changes to how we have to teach.
Yeah. Sharon, what about you? Anything different than what's been said already?
I just think it's been hard since COVID. A lot's expected. Kids have to catch up. I think especially in the younger grades. And emotionally, I don't think they develop like they should have. And I think we're paying a price for it now in all levels of teaching. I think it's really hard.
Yeah. What about you, Haley? Anything left on your list to share?
Student behavior and constant parental access to educators as opposed to having to call the main office to get in contact with the teacher. They're emailing and sometimes expecting a turnaround time of seconds within sending the email while teachers are teaching. So just kind of being not able to focus solely on what's going on in the classroom all the time.
Yeah. So those are all great challenges that are being faced by teachers and staff in education. And so as we look to the next slide, we asked that question to representatives of our wellness committee. And so Lisa's going to give us some highlights as to what our staff is seeing as current factors that are impacting employee well-being. So I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. So, as Cameron said, we filled out a survey, and the Wellness Committee is made up of a lot of different staff across the district, so it's a pretty good representation of the district. So what came up in our survey was student behavioral, mental health concerns, which require more intervention from our staff. Another was workload pressures. So there's a lot of testing pressure, changing curriculum, just even pressure from staff attendance. So when we have staff that's absent, like for example at the elementary level, if the encore teacher is absent, then another staff member has to cover. So that kind of disrupts your day and you could lose your planning time. So that's one thing. And basically it's just pretty much being asked to do more than what we have time for. Another challenge area that came out in the survey was space limitations, and like we talked about, or like you talked about earlier, with people in trailers that limits collaboration between teachers. We've got staff teaching in vestibules, so that is a big challenge. And the last negative impact were communication issues. So anytime there's a communication issue, that could lead to people feeling undervalued, underappreciated, and it may just perpetuate a feeling that there's a lack of mutual respect. So despite the negative, though, do you want me to go, am I going to positive? Cameron?
Yeah, keep going to the
Okay,
positives.
okay. So despite the negative, there are a lot of positive things that we are doing in the district that came across in the survey. We have supportive leadership, so our building principals foster a community that feels welcoming. They value a work-life balance, which is important, and they manage with compassion. Our wellness committee is working on a lot of different activities that promote an overall well-being, which they're going to talk about later. We have supportive coworkers and administration, which fosters open communication and trust among colleagues, and that just helps build strong connections across the district. And then we take time to celebrate staff contributions, and I'm currently on a subcommittee of the wellness group that's working to develop a more unified and systematic approach, and I'll actually touch on that later as well.
Thanks, Lisa. So if we go to the next slide and you guys take a look at the second page of your note catcher, at the top of it, it'll ask these specific questions. So we want the board to take a minute, based on the challenges and the enhancements, the things that are helping to promote a positive culture and employee well-being, just jot down some initial thoughts about what's one insight you learned from hearing what Lisa shared as a representative of what our staff are saying, as well, what's one question that's still on your mind based on what was shared from her and what's coming from our staff. So just take a minute or two to jot those ideas down. So we'd like to hear an insight maybe that you have. So whichever the board members is ready to go and wants to share one insight that you learned from hearing Lisa's comments.
Hearing you say communication could be the key to feeling valued, and feeling valued in a situation could make all the difference, as opposed to not feeling valued, not feeling heard, not feeling important, maybe is the word? Vital. And I think that is people feeling comfortable and confident expressing why they feel the way they feel about things, and also being on the receiving end, taking it without being defensive or giving excuses of stuff of like, okay, maybe I messed up or I came across in a way that I didn't mean to, or just communicating issues as they happen.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Kelly. Other insights that any board members have?
I just want to say, for myself, it was the first time I thought about the space issues from the employee's perspective, because I very much focus on it from the student's perspective, but obviously it affects the employee group just as much as the students, so that was a good insight for me.
Yeah, thanks,
I
Rich.
touched on the same thing, the feeling, or the idea that, staff feels disconnected because of where they are physically. I was the same, I never thought about that when we're thinking about putting little bodies, places. I think I just need to be more conscious of how our adults are feeling about this as well.
Any other insights to share before we move on? All right, with that, you're going to hold your questions. Let's see if we can maybe answer some of those questions as we go through the next couple slides. But I'm going to turn it over to Teresa and Jennifer to lead us through the work that we're doing.
Hi. Okay, so as part of the Wellness Committee, one of the things we are dedicated to is creating opportunities for the staff to connect through shared experiences. By bringing people together, we hope to support employee well-being, build stronger relationships, and create positive and inclusive workplace culture. We strive to have everyone feel valued, engaged, and part of our district team. Our goal is to foster a sense of community, encourage collaboration, and contribute to a happier, healthier work environment. Over the past year and a half, some of the things we have implemented are organized wellness and community building initiatives, staff engagement activities, community building events, and service projects.
As part of the Wellness Committee, we have and will continue to have staff increase in their engagement. As Jennifer said, staff's morale, attitudes, and wellness are key to making Strongsville City Schools a premier district. We focused on fun activities that include Theme Thursdays, where all staff members are invited to wear a theme shirt or sweatshirt. I saw this firsthand, that staff that maybe didn't have something in common had sweatshirts on that were the same, and they bonded over something, and it really started to build new connections and new relationships. Our dessert challenge bake-off were a big hit with the bakers and the taste testers. The favorite dessert in each building won an apron that was designed and printed by the Derby Shop. So it was really nice that we were able to work with them. Wellness walks gave staff a reason to get out and get some fresh air and exercise after work. Groups came together to walk. We also offered Cedar Point discount tickets for all staff and their families last year, and this year we are organizing a Guardians game for staff and families at the very beginning of summer.
Another thing we focused on was staff-to-staff recognition that provided an opportunity to express gratitude and appreciation for colleagues who have had a positive impact on us. This initiative fostered a culture of support, respect, and encouragement throughout our team. The last thing the recognition team rolled out was fall back to earlier in your career and recognize someone who had an impact on you. Staff was encouraged to either email them, drop a note in their mailbox or interschool mail, or just stop by their office and talk to them, which was kind of fun for some of us who have also taught from, for our whole career here, but also went here. And a lot of the teachers, had an impact on us, and we were able to talk to them personally. So that was neat. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is last year's service project. We focused on giving back to our local first responders, with staff donating snacks and drinks for the Strongsville's fire, police, and EMS departments, along with special treats for the police dogs. This year, we organized a walk in honor of Miles Ketterer. The proceeds established a scholarship in his name for a graduating senior, creating a lasting impact in his memory. We all met at the middle school and walked together for a couple of hours. It was the rainiest Saturday, I think, in September, but it was great, and the community donated food for us and balloons, and it ended up being such a great event with the dear officer playing music, and it was just fun because you were able to walk around the track with other people around the district that you don't see often.
We also have the Vitality Challenge has given us a sense of fun competition for having each building compete against each other and getting exercises and learning healthier lifestyles. It's an ongoing opportunity for good health for all our staff members.
Okay, we're going to move on to the staff administration alignment. We feel that...
Go to the next slide with the pictures.
I did that already.
That was the last one.
Okay.
Administration is actively listening and working to make professional development more focused and impactful for all teachers and staff. Coming up in February, at the end of February, for an example, elementary teachers and instructional coaches are leading sessions, which gives educators the opportunity to select topics that align with their interests and needs. They give us a structured grid of sessions that are provided, and we are offered the opportunity to pick from a diverse range of
things we want to learn about and allow the participants to choose the sessions that are relevant to them. And one other thing we have going on at the elementary building, which I can speak to because I work at Moraski, is that this year elementary leadership teams were established to enhance alignment both district-wide and within the individual buildings. These teams are focused on academics as well as staff and student success, ensuring a comprehensive approach to collaboration. With every teacher now has a voice and can be actively involved on a team instead of it just being one small team across the district. We established the same teams where all voices are heard, fostering greater unity and shared decision-making across the district.
And also based on our feedback, administration is working to be more flexible by offering more feedback pathways such as Google Form and shared Google Documents. This is an opportunity for staff to ask and answer questions that can be done openly or anonymously. Cameron offers the stay interviews, which has given every staff member the opportunity to meet with him, share their successes, concerns, and views on any topic. And I know that some staff have liked it so much they've gone more than one time. We feel that our committee is making a difference, and we will continue to offer opportunities to build a work community that is healthy, engaged, and happy. And we appreciate you guys listening, whether you had the choice or not. But
Here you are.
So where we want to go to next is, as you heard in some of the challenges that were listed, one of those challenges was employee attendance. So Ryan's going to talk about the work that he's doing to help support and address that.
All right, thank you, Cameron. So a couple of things I want to review quickly. This past week, with Jenny's support and help, we rolled out an attendance flow chart to our schools. Basically, it's a partnership between the Human Resources Department and our building principals to be proactive as they see attendance issues rise in their schools. And so who takes the lead, working together, and really the biggest thing is constant communication between our department and HR and the principals, and then communicating that if there is an attendance issue. Really the biggest thing is be proactive on it. And if there is an issue, to bring that to the attention of the principal or our HR department to be able to correct that or be able to work with the employee if there's issues that come up. We had mentioned earlier moving on to evolving and enhancing recruiting. That's one of the things that Jenny and I are also working on. We want to find the best and the brightest and to bring them into our school district. How do we do that? Well, we find where our jobs are being posted. So we're doing a deep dive and review of the websites that our jobs are posted on. Are they getting to the right people? We've talked about specific job fairs and going to. Hosting open interviews here at the board office. We've even talked about, and this is something that we're going to work on, is actually creating our own district LinkedIn page, which we don't have. A lot of school districts have their own LinkedIn page where they can promote a variety of different positions and draw people into that. So those are some of the things that we're working on in that area, and that will continue to evolve as the year goes on. Finally, the permanent subs and IS subs. I know a lot of you have been curious about this, and we've talked about it. So we have 13 district subs that have been hired. Out of those, 4 to 5 are in long-term assignments most of the time, and 8 and 9 are available for day-to-day assignments. 2 of the day-to-day district subs are at the secondary level, and 6 to 7 are available at the elementary level. So we're able to be flexible, and if we need to, put them in those positions. As far as the long-term intervention district subs, we have 3 of those, and this is new this year. We didn't have that last year, and they've been invaluable as we have had or will have 6 intervention maternity leaves this year, which is
Oh my gosh.
it's like a parade in my office. And we've had 2 intervention resignations mid-year, so the 3 IS subs have been used 95% of the time, and they've been in IS long-term assignments, and we've also helped in IS classrooms where we've been down at MI aid. So again, having that this year and having the flexibility to use those have been absolutely invaluable. And so At times, it is a struggle, but that has been a huge thing this year for us and something that we've been able to use.
And Lisa also shared, one of the top challenges we're facing, and Sharon, this goes to what you were talking about, is student behavior, mental health needs, and the growing needs of our kids is a challenge for the work that we're doing, and it's a challenge we accept and take on, but it is a challenge. And so, unfortunately, my colleague Andy had the same sickness I have right now, so he wasn't able to be with us tonight, but Jenny's going to take over and share the work that he and his department are doing to help support student behavior and mental health.
Thank you. So one of the proactive approaches we're taking across various classrooms and buildings in the district is something called restorative practices. And it's a proactive approach to kind of check in with students and see what's going on and how they're feeling, and then, making sure that they have some power in what they can do to work through the issues that they're having. And so you're going to hear more about that in the teaching and learning section, so I'll save that excitement for that. Another thing that we are doing is called NCI strategies. It's nonviolent crisis intervention. So really it's about de-escalating, teaching our teachers and staff and how to use de-escalation strategies when students are escalated or very emotional or having in crisis. There is a physical part to that if needed, but that's really a last resort. It's really more about the verbal de-escalation and how we as adults can stay as calm as possible, be careful of our nonverbals. And so we have a lot of staff trained in this and crisis teams in each of our buildings ready to go. And so this has been a huge game changer in equipping our staff with the tools that they need to de-escalate when students are in crisis. Another component that we are working with, many of you know Carrie Jankar in our district, and she has a new company called Family First Solutions. We also partner with Mindfully as well, but Carrie has taken on an additional responsibility with us, working closely with our middle school teachers to help them start to develop restorative practices. They are working on a professional development, actually. I think they met today. Working on something for our March PD for all staff at the middle school to continue developing restorative practices there and how they can make sure that that's happening at the middle school as well. So she's also meets with individual teachers when there are challenging behaviors. So that's also been super helpful. She's very knowledgeable and can not only give the theoretical piece, but also strategies that teachers can use immediately. We've talked before about Mental Health Navigator, and we are going to be looking at this and be able to provide professional development to our staff and build awareness and knowledge of all student needs. So really that is a new approach to making sure that everybody's connected when there is an issue with a student, that, between the teachers and the therapists and the counselors and the parents, that everybody's kind of working together, and it's really a support for the parent to make sure that they don't have to be calling each person, that there's somebody kind of coordinating that, a professional that's well-versed in that. Trauma-informed PD, we've had this over the last few PD sessions, really helping our staff to understand how we need to interact with students that may have experienced trauma. And, as I always say, I believe it's good for all students because we never know what somebody may be going through and we're not aware of. So it's not as important to know the story and what happened with that child. It's important to know that we need the strategies that we learn through trauma-informed care can be applied to many students, regardless of what situation they went through. So that's been really, really helpful. And then finally, you're familiar with our PBIS system, our positive behavior intervention supports. I believe that they're stronger than ever at this point. We have a clear understanding of what that means. And the things that we're doing in each of the buildings and following up, and our teams are meeting and they're coordinating and they're looking at data to see where they need to put their attention next. And so that has really been an important part as we strive to increase the positive climate of all of our buildings.
And so Andy's got the exact figures, but he shared with our team the other day, if you compare 2002 data from August to February to 2024, we're down by over 1,000 discipline infractions over the same span of time. So it just shows that the work that we've been doing and continue to do are helping our students to build the skills and our teachers to build the skills to make good decisions and create a better classroom environment. So if we go to the next slide, I want to go back to that question piece that you wrote down a little bit ago. So maybe it's a question you wrote down that we haven't answered yet, or a question that was generated by the things my colleagues have shared. So just wanted to give the board an opportunity. If there's a question that you still have on your mind about what we talked about so far, please share it and we can dig into that question. Well, y'all did such a great job. No questions at this moment in time. So we're going to go to the last content portion we have for you. So our wellness team, as Teresa and Jennifer shared, we've been doing a lot of activities, a lot of connection opportunities, service projects, and the team has got that. It's a well-oiled machine now. They've got that going strong. And so what we started to do is build a couple teams that's going to continue our work forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Carla, who's going to share some highlights of the work that's in the works in terms of professional development.
Oh, okay, I'll go first. Hi, I'm Carla. I teach art at the high school, and I'm excited to share with you guys our new initiative we've been planning for this past year. So we all know that the staff is the backbone of the district, so their well-being directly impacts the students and the community. So that's why we're thrilled to announce the introduction of a wellness hour at our professional development days. So picture, instead of starting our PD days with the usual staff meeting in the cafeteria and the staff like sipping on their coffee, maybe you'll see a high school coach and a media specialist starting their day with a yoga session in the park. Or maybe you'll see our director of curriculum and a middle school counselor bonding over photography or bird watching while taking a walk in the metro parks. Or maybe a math coach and a director of technology playing a friendly game of pickleball at the new pickleball courts. So we've surveyed the whole staff and the response has been awesome so far. Not only are they eager to participate, but a lot of them are also willing to host sessions. Local businesses have stepped up, offering their facilities and time to host sessions, just showing how much our schools mean to the community. So the goal is simple. We just want a variety of activities so that every single staff member can find something valuable within this hour of professional development. So we're fostering connections across departments while promoting wellness and just starting these PD days on a positive and energizing note. So we're launching this new experience in August, and of course, we'll be gathering feedback. We love our Google Forms to improve on these opportunities for all of our staff members. So we're just, bottom line is we're investing in the people. So happy staff, happy students, happy community, and I think we're all very excited about this. That's all. Pam?
Lisa, are you going to talk about team recognition?
I sure am. So we're developing a comprehensive staff recognition program that's designed to celebrate staff members across the district. Jennifer did a really nice job talking about one of the things that we tried, write about somebody who has impacted you, the fall back and recognize. We also have done Be the Difference cards, which were just little business cards, and we took a minute to jot something down to somebody who made a difference in our life. It was really nice to give them and receive them as well. So we're currently working to identify the best ones based on the importance and value to our district.
And the last team that we have is team feedback. And so this is about what kind of impact are we having with this work. So one of the things that we're working on is we've used a variety of surveys in the past, but we're researching and looking at a variety of survey tools that address employee well-being in a certain number of categories. To get that together by the end of the year, to start launching in the fall, to get some baseline data about how we're doing, not just on a feel or how it seems like we're doing, but let's get some good baseline data in a variety of areas of employee well-being to see where we continue to show strengths and where we need to do some improvement. Jenny talked about the student behavior, and as I shared, attendance data, teacher survey data. Those are things that we'll continue to monitor to see is the work that we're doing working there. Ryan, you want to share a little bit about what you're going to be tracking under your area?
Yeah, so monitoring attendance patterns and sub-coverage is kind of what we spoke about a little while ago with that flow chart. But I did want to throw a couple of things at you guys. Our sub-fill rate this year is at 85%. We have 41 teacher subs, and that's excluding the district subs that I spoke about, who have worked over 10 days this year, with many working upwards of 30 times this year so far. Our sub pool, which isn't huge, and we try to expand it, is actually pretty healthy. So compared to last year, we only had 33 teacher subs who worked over 10 days last year. So anyone who did not work at least 10 days last year, we didn't ask back. And that way. Now last year, our fill rate was at 76%, but a lot of that was there was letters training and some other things that went on. So as we continue to monitor attendance patterns and sub rates, I think we're doing a solid job. The better pay rates have made us very competitive. So that has been one area, but we'll continue to monitor it. And I think the biggest thing is being proactive. Is being proactive when there's an issue with one of our staff with attendance issues and be able to get out in front of it early. But our sub pool is doing very well.
One of the last things to share is outside of the wellness team, but as a part of our strategic planning objective, we've been doing an analysis of our formal and informal feedback pathways in the district to identify where we have some strengths and where we have some areas that we need to continue to grow on. And so we've just completed that work, and we've prioritized a handful of ideas. What we've noticed is that we've got to do a better job with our support staff. We feel we've got some gaps in terms of where we provide feedback pathways for our support staff, and so we've got some ideas to help support that, as well as, I've shared with the board in prior conversations, we've taken a look at a variety of feedback systems, kind of tools to use for how can we create a consistent language on how we give and receive feedback around the district. So we have a group that's taken, some of the systems that resonated with us, and piloted those, used those with parents, with staff, in different conversations, and they've provided recommendations not only on when to use these different systems, but they've also taken the best and created a Strongsvilleized system that they're still going to pilot so that we can continue to build our formal and informal feedback pathways across the district. So obviously this team has done a tremendous amount of work. It's having a significant impact on our district, and we wouldn't be where we were at without them and their other colleagues that are part of the group. But for everybody that's there, Jennifer, Teresa, Carla, Lisa, and Ryan, anything else you want to share before we wrap up our section? All right, so board members, as we transition to the next section, Jenny, if you go to the next slide, the last part of your thought sheet as we transition, this is just for you, and like I said, we'll get these later. If there was something about the work that we shared that surprised you, made you think, an initiative we talked about that you're excited about, or something that you heard that you think needs to be a priority, or something you didn't hear that you think needs to be a priority, please jot those down for us, and we'll be sure to take a look at those and continue the conversation in those areas.
I was like, wait, there's one more person. Okay, Dave's coming up. I know Andy's not here, but why are we so short? All right, well, we are going to,
I just want to take a minute
Oh,
to thank
yeah.
these guys for being
Yeah.
here tonight. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule and being here with us tonight. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
I did learn a lot about how you guys are helping our staff and culture, a great positive experience for everyone, so thank you.
thank you.
Be careful driving.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. All right, we're going to move to transforming teaching and learning as one of our focus areas in our strategic plan. And There's a lot that goes under this, and based on the board's feedback, we've selected a few areas here to highlight. And hopefully that can answer some of the questions that you had and information that you wanted this evening. So a few of the things that we are working on in high-quality Tier 1 instruction, that has been something that we definitely need to make sure that we shore up, that we're always giving our students their first best instruction. So that has been a focus among every building, all of our focus. We've been looking at that regularly. We're still continuing to look at deeper learning and looking forward. How can we create more experiences where students are immersed in not only content, but also the skills that they need to thrive in their future through our Model Mustang competencies. And then also through you've heard a little bit in terms of programming for social emotional learning. And a lot of those things are the restorative practices and the PBIS and the things like that. So we're going to highlight something there, as well as meeting the needs of all student groups, where we want to implement a rigorous curriculum, but also ensure that we're meeting the needs of all students and that students are getting curriculum that is rigorous to their level of where they are, and we're not, we don't like this term, but dumbing it down. Instead, we're building scaffolds, we're building things that they can use to make sure that they're reaching the high rigor that's expected and that they deserve. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about some tech integration tools that we're using to support Tier 1 instruction. So these are all of our, on our strategic plan, and all of the things we're kind of working on simultaneously. But we really have some laser focus on each one of the areas. So it's been, I think you're going to see that it's been really beneficial this year. So one of the things I want to draw your attention to is you have a sheet at your station there. If you remember last year, I gave you a sheet like this, and we talked about Tier 1 instruction and really what it means. And I think some of the feedback, not only from the board, but also from our administrators and our teachers, is this is a lot, and it's hard to implement all of this at once. And so what we've done as an administrative team, in conjunction with our coaches and our teachers, is kind of say, what can we really focus on and try to do a good job of and do well for this year? And so in the areas that are highlighted have been our focus, and not only at one building, but every single building is focused on these areas. And some at a more depth than others, but they all have a piece of this in everything that they do this year. So it's nice that we're building some coherence and some alignment between everyone. The goal that we would love to reach eventually is deeper learning. So I've highlighted there just again a reminder of what deeper learning is, and it's really when you integrate content and you're also giving students the opportunities to build the skills that we want them to have for their future. It's also tying, how does this fit in the real world? How will I use this when I leave? What authentic experience can I tie it to that makes it valuable to my life? Collaboration and reflection is another huge component, making sure that our students have opportunities to work together, to collaborate together, to share ideas, and then reflect on what they're doing, reflect on their progress, reflect on their goals, to know where to go next. And then finally, a comprehensive assessment. In education, we're so used to those paper pencil tests all the time. And there are so many different ways that we can assess learning, and it doesn't always have to be that nervous paper pencil test that we traditionally do. So this is our goal, but yet we still need to focus on some foundational aspects. Another sheet that you have at your table there are what we call our adopter groups. So Dave did a really nice job developing this system, and all I did was kind of put deeper learning into it. So this one focuses on deeper learning, but you can put anything in here. You can put data decisions. You can put high quality materials. So as you take a look at this, what's been nice is to say, who of our staff, who are our early adopters and early followers? And when I think of that, I think of our district learning team. They were the ones eager to jump on and say, we want to learn more about deeper learning. We want to explore this. We want to try new things. The other day we met and I asked them to answer a question, and they didn't answer the question. They were already thinking of ideas and things that they could put into their classroom. So that is just natural to them. I don't know how to teach somebody that. And you can see kind of in the description, they are just enthusiastic and reflective constantly. And then you might go down to the cautious group, and it just kind of describes maybe they're interested, but they need a little bit more support. They need some models. They need to understand it more. They need to know the why. So they're not just going to jump right in, but they need a little bit more time to explore. And so this is something that we just recently rolled out to our administrators, and then also gave it to our instructional coaches. As they work with different people, it kind of gives that description, what motivates people and maybe the challenges they're going to face, and also how to support them. Along with that, there was a little bit more information that I gave to our coaches and administrators, because here are some things that you can do, and it also gives a timeline of maybe how long it will take. So this is our work in progress, and it's been interesting. Every administrator I talk to, our coaches that I talk to, they refer to this, and they're able to kind of focus in on maybe one group. I'm going to focus in on those cautious people that I know, and I'm going to provide the supports that they need to help. And then I'm going to use my early adopters and first followers to help model those things. And so, as they mentioned, as the wellness team mentioned, with regards to PD coming up, we do have a lot of our instructional coaches and those types of people that are going to be facilitating PD sessions. So it's really exciting that they're learning from each other and the staff. So with that, we are going to show you some examples of the work that's being done. And we've broken it down into 5 different areas: high quality materials, effective strategies, AI and tech, restorative practices, and then deeper learning. So in the spirit of keeping with the note catchers, you have one that's called classroom instruction. So as we go through, we have it broken down a little differently. We have praise, questions for today, and maybe questions for tomorrow. So sometimes we always think about what else or how else can it be done, but this has been a lot of work and a lot of working together as a group. And so if there's anything that you like, that you think we should continue doing, that would be something you could put in the praise column. And then obviously if you have questions right now we can answer, we'll be happy to do that. Or questions for tomorrow, we can create like an FAQ or meet with you separately if you have further questions. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Erin.
Okay, thank you. So starting with high quality materials, we decided to do little video intros for each of these 4 areas. So you will see Mike Griffin, who is our principal at Moraski. He's been instrumental in our high quality materials. So he has 7 teachers at his building that are those early adopters Jenny talked about, and they're doing the CKLA program. So I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to Mike here.
Over the last few years, Strongsville has really focused on the science of reading. And a key component of the science of reading is background knowledge. And if you don't have experiences with certain text or topics, your comprehension is sometimes going to struggle. Well, CKLA really targets that. And it provides all students with vast topics and content areas that they're going to build on throughout their careers here at Strongsville, and really go deep into learning about the human body, about ancient Rome and different civilizations, and those topics show up throughout their education. It's going to only support the middle school and high school, because we are exposing kids to so much content knowledge and creating that background knowledge that they can now pull from when they're required to learn those standards and those topics in their future. They are really, really engaged with the content and just the topics which are covered. So it's so exciting to see, and they're really building that knowledge. So they have, again, things that they can pull from in different areas. So you're seeing a lot of cross-curricular connections that enhance students' learning, not only in ELA, but also in science and social studies. When you have 5 separate elementaries and in some cases 15 to 20 teachers teaching at each grade level, having a shared resource that provides text and questions and assessments that are all common really provides equity for all students in the classrooms. Now teachers have a shared resource that they can work off of. It promotes collaboration through our teacher-based teams and grade level meetings, that they are grounded in the same resource and really can enhance instruction because they have a quality resource, and it provides equity for all students.
I think Mike said it really well in a concise manner. What we're doing this year with our early adopters group. Looking at high quality materials, as you've heard, and maybe too much, but we have a need for a comprehensive English language arts curriculum. So when we asked teachers, we did an audit, what we heard was we're piecemealing a bunch of different resources. From that last year, you guys gave us permission to go ahead and adopt the CKLA program. It is a comprehensive curriculum, so everything is aligned. When kids are learning the reading, the writing, the phonics, it's heavy in the science of reading. As we know, we spend a lot of time and energy with as well. It has built-in Tier 1 components. So I love that because teachers across different classrooms are going to be doing similar things. Not exactly the same, but it provides those options for teachers. As Mike talked about the knowledge building, kids are learning so much. It's not just literature. There are some literary texts in there as well, but the science, the social studies, topics that they're going through and really digging deep into. And lastly, the equitable experiences. I think this is something we've wanted for quite a while. So a classroom at Moraski looks like a classroom at the same grade level at Farrar and so forth. The other nice piece is this is a comprehensive K-5 curriculum, and it's intentionally designed to build each grade level. So they're going to learn a little bit about a content area or topic, and then continue to build those skills as they progress and move grade levels, but they also build upon that background knowledge.
Thank you, Erin. We are going to go to Nicole, where she's going to talk a little about, I think you're going to see here more of the vertical alignment through effective strategies as well as high-quality materials.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about partially how the high-quality materials that Erin's talking about, that we're piloting at the earlier grades, what it looks like with implementation, which is where we are at the middle school. With your approval last year, we were able to adopt new social studies, math, and ELA, English Language Arts books, for our middle school. And our teachers are using this as a basis for instruction. Interestingly, nationally, the average amount of time teachers spend a week looking and finding materials is reportedly 7 hours a week. By having a good, high-quality instructional textbook for teachers to use, instead of spending their time playing materials disc jockey and trying to figure out what to do and how to piece everything together, they have a good source to then work from to meet the needs of individual students. We hope that this, and we're seeing this already, it provides better continuity across the grade level and vertical alignment from grade to grade, and allows for making sure that we have rigorous materials for kids to use, and letting teachers spend that time, again, instead of playing materials disc jockey, to work to take those materials to get them to meet the need of a range of students. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Corey Matz and Stacy Sokolowski, who will tell you more about what it looks like in the 7th grade social studies classroom with their new textbook.
So last year, when Stacy and myself piloted this book, we had about 4 books to choose from. And I had a couple of lunch groups with students from honors, reg, some of my struggling readers, a couple ELL students, and then also some of my more gifted readers. And they all came to a lunch group and they looked at all 4 books that could potentially be used this year, including our old textbook. And overwhelmingly positive, honors, reg, all the students preferred the textbook we use now. And so it was really their choice along with ours as a TBT. So when kids read this year, I tell them, like, you are reading a book that your students last year thought this would be good for you to read. A book that they wanted to read in 8th grade, and now they get to read it in high school too. So they had a lot of student feedback going to selecting this book. For many of our students, 7th grade social studies is like their first on its own social studies class. So I think it's really important to have a book that's easy access for them. There's a lot of enrichment activities that come with it. Like, we're not just looking at 7th grade here, we're looking at 8th and 9th grade too. We know that the high school now has AP for freshmen, so we have a lot of pre-AP activities built into this textbook. So we use those a lot with our honors classes or some of our gifted students. Struggling readers, we differentiate assignments for them. But this textbook provides all of that, but in a framework that's built for 7th grade, like 12, 13-year-old kids. A lot of pictures, big fonts, smaller sections. So it's easy for a kid to jump into it, but there's a lot of tools there to get the most out of their learning.
And it also lends itself, and I think Corey just alluded to this, where we can differentiate from our classes just using the same set of text. Like, we can do some of our reading strategies that we use. We do a lot of max teaching type of strategies to help kids learn how to read this text. And we could do that with it, and at the same time, we can take our honors kids a little bit further with providing those additional enrichment activities, so that way they're prepped for AP when they get to the high school.
It's a complete overhaul from our old textbook, which was every chapter was much bigger by design, and this helps us, again, with chunking for smaller readings and assignments.
Okay, well, thank you both. So we're going to pause here because we have 3 more sections to get through, but was there anything in terms of praise or questions for today for either Aaron or Nicole?
I just want to share a fun story that supports what you were sharing about the expanding the content knowledge with the elementary specifically. We had a really funny conversation at dinner the other night. My kids happen to have the 2 pilot classes at Sarar, and one had to build an aqueduct, a Roman aqueduct, out of packing peanuts and toothpicks. And he was, teacher sent the picture, really proud to show his brother his aqueduct, and the brother said, "That is not an aqueduct." And I said, "Oh boy." Turns out Mayan and Incan had aqueducts as well that didn't look the same as that. So we had a full-on discussion about Mayan aqueducts versus Roman aqueducts, all because their 2 grades taught those things this fall. That didn't happen before. And so it's been really awesome to see, and even into the 7th grade curriculum, to see some of the new content there. It has been fantastic. So, yeah.
One of the things I loved that Mike said was how we're exposing the kids younger, and it's only going to make our middle school and high school better. Like, that stuck out to me, and I was like, that's pretty amazing.
It'll take a few years, right, to these kids to move up.
Yeah, right.
To Corey's class or Stacy's class, they're going to have so much of that background knowledge built already. It'll take it further.
Yeah, I love that.
Have you had feedback from the teachers?
We have. So we had a meeting, I think it's been 2 weeks ago now, where we had our K-2 teachers all in the gym here and our 3-5 teachers, and I spent a half a day with each of them. And we went through kind of a protocol of program strengths and weaknesses, obstacles, threats, and got all of that feedback. Because no program is perfect. We're learning as we go, and definitely some areas that we're going to continue to focus on. I think the way in which we did this, where it was an early adopters group first, 20 teachers doing it this year almost as a pilot. We don't like to say pilot because we've already invested and we're going to do this next year and the years after anyhow. But that feedback is invaluable. So there are some concerns, there are some questions, things that I'm digging into deeper. And then we did also do parent feedback. So parents of the students who have CKLA, overwhelmingly very positive. Again, there was room for parents to write, questions, things that maybe you don't understand or don't love. We got some of that too, and that's what we wanted. So we can use all of that feedback to tailor this as we roll it out to the masses for next year's implementation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right. As we go over to artificial intelligence, Dave, fresh off the OETC conference, you just got back today, right?
Yeah, myself and 7 teachers. It's been the last 3 days in Columbus, attending sessions, leading sessions over some instructional classroom strategies.
Dave, can you tell us what OTT stands for?
Ohio Educational Technology Conference. It is the Department of Education's state's conference. So it's kind of like BASA or Ohio Capital Conference. This is for the ed tech leaders. Everyone from, we do have a couple of superintendents and assistant superintendents that come, but it's a lot of tech directors, instructional coaches, teacher leaders, and just regular teachers. Some that come and they share their knowledge, or they just attend sessions. They can go for 1 day or all 3. We're lucky enough that we support our teachers. We've gone all 3 days for the last couple of years, and the last couple of years we've taken a lot of secondary teachers because of letters training. But this year that we're not doing letters training, that we were able to focus on bringing a lot of our elementary teachers. So now we have a good group of teachers that can share at all levels as we come back and kind of decompress from going through probably, I think, from our slide deck, at least 50 different sessions between the 7 of us. Okay, so Jessica's going to start us off with talking about how she has kind of worked with some teachers. I've seen some teachers use artificial intelligence, our generative AI, Magic School AI, in the high school setting.
Our teachers are really embracing the use of AI. It's almost like having another teacher in the classroom with you. Currently in our science TBT, they're working on a dream project with their students, and they're able to utilize AI because the AI service is able to give the students feedback on their idea, and then they're able to dive into the research a little bit deeper. So previously, a teacher had to check over every single student's idea, and now that they're able to use AI in the classroom, the students are able to get feedback on whether the idea would work or not. In our world language department, our teachers are able to customize a chat box. So in that chat, they're able to upload current vocabulary that the students are working on, and then AI is able to differentiate the conversation the students are having by giving them something more challenging or bringing it down a little bit to their level to ultimately get to the level that they need to be at. Some of our social studies teachers that are in a co-taught setting are able to scaffold their assessments that they're giving to students. So they give it to them one time, and the students, whether they're missing a couple questions here and there, they can put that test back into Magic School, and they're able to get another version of the test to give to the student to try the test again. So they're able to differentiate their tests in a way that students are able to try it multiple times, and it's just very quickly able to produce a new test with the same information, where they would have, in the past, they'd have to go through and write all the tests after they grade it. So this very quick change in it is able to give students multiple tries to master the material, and the teachers are able to have different versions of their assessments. It's so accessible for all learners, whether it's translating documents, differentiating your instruction, providing scaffolds for students, and it's ultimately improving the student experience.
So, continuing on what Jessica kind of talked about, for the generative AI or Magic School, there's like 4 other categories I kind of want to talk about with us tonight. The first one is professional development and AI literacy for educators. Generative AI, Magic School, is foreign language to a lot of people. So sometimes we have to start off, what is it? But really the biggest question is, and Jenny has gotten this before at one of our DLT meetings, is like, how do I talk to it? Like there's like for some of us, it's like, oh, you just have a conversation. It's your new thought partner. And then they go through and they start like asking questions, and then, uploading documents, and then asking questions about reflection on that. So we've done a lot of work on that. We hit everybody pretty hard at the beginning of the school year, where we hit, in the first 2 days of PD, I would say every elementary school teacher, and I think almost 80 to 90% of our secondary teachers sat in a session with me, introducing Magic School to the district. That's where our early adopters and our early followers kind of came into play. And I would like to say that right now we're dealing with the cautious group, and mainly just the cautious group right now, because of the way that the rollout has been, I'd say, highly successful. Another one on here that we've been doing a lot of streamlined teacher workflows and efficiency. Like Jessica mentioned, just the idea that I want to tweak a lesson plan. I could upload the standard, upload my previous lesson plan, and say, hey, I want to make this into a station rotation model. Within 30 seconds to a minute, it pops out 4 or 5 different stations with suggestions for activities, and you can even ask it to, like, all right, I like this activity, but we need something tangible like a worksheet or a couple questions. Can you provide me those questions? And they can copy and paste it into a Google Doc, and then that station is already done. You can ask for online resources for one of the other activities, and it can provide, with some limited restrictions, but some websites that the kids can go to and do some interactive modeling if we don't have those kind of things already. So it's really helped with some of those aspects of just making things move a little bit faster, that our teachers don't have to spend so much time looking at those resources like Nicole talked about. Data-driven decision-making. This one I think is, being a former science teacher and math teacher, I worked with TBT where we put test scores up. Like, here are the questions, here's, what our students got, like on questions 1 through 5, like, 19 out of 20 of them got it right, or 12 out of 20, whatever it is, and then ask for insights about it. And they can draw insights from like the standard to how many got it right, to kind of like doing different type of groups of students of like, maybe these students got this one right because of this, and if they got this question right, then, you know, they tend to get this question right too, or vice versa, or the opposite of that. So it's a lot of data that they can kind of see where they can make connections from. And the fostering digital citizenship and ethical AI use, this is always going to be a question. You know, back when I was in school, it was Google and Wikipedia. Now it's AI. It's not going away. You go into Google and you type in the search bar, what's the first thing that pops up? Gemini with its description, and then you have the websites below it. So it's not going to go away. So how do we teach our students to use it ethically? And for us, our students in grades 6 through 8 have access to Magic Student, where our teachers can create those classrooms with those tools, like the custom chat bots that they can use with the students. So it's talking about like how much of it is the chat bots work versus yours. Some people say, you know, 60-40, 80-20, but also a big thing that we've been talking about at the high school is who was the last one to touch it? Did you just literally copy and paste it into a document and try to turn it in? Or did you copy, paste it, and then, you know, go through and revise it yourself? You put your own little flair to it. So really, the idea of academic honesty when it comes to plagiarism and things like that. Any questions about that before I go to the little, like, part B here?
Has anyone ever had a situation where AI went wrong? Like, you always hear about someone asking Alexa something and it's like a totally off-the-wall answer that doesn't make sense, but
So,
teacher's like,
luckily for us, there's a lot of parameters within Magic School to help keep students kind of framed within what the tool is using for what the questions are. If something looks a little off, the program does a red flag. So like in the student output section that a teacher can view, they can say like, all right, there's a red flag on this response, why was it? It could be,
like they may not be able to spell correctly or know the correct word of what they're looking to say, and then.
and that, I don't know the extent of that, but I just know that we haven't had any, or nobody's told me that something went completely off the rails. It's just that there's sometimes when the conversations, when the conversation starts going into some things about some novels, maybe it's not as a, you know, it's getting to the borderline of what their safety parameters are for about like the style of language or content of the language that they can talk about. Because they do have they focus on schools. So something like ChatGPT will continue to talk about that process. Magic School kind of says, well, maybe you need to kind of talk to your teacher about this, or you need to get some assistance from someone. Because it's kind of like, hey, I can only tell you so much.
And there's certain words that are like flagged that won't be.
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Do we need to start thinking about having a straight AI course at the high school?
I don't know about that. We do have, you know, like, right now we do have a Tech 6 class that's part of the wheel. We could consider maybe moving some generative AI literacy into that course, because every sixth grader gets that. I don't know how we could make it into an entire course. I just think that we need to figure out how we can have our teachers, when we're using it, talk about the pros and cons of it as they're using it. In the guidelines that I provided last year, and the update I did, we have that color code chart about the different ways to use it, like not using it for like spelling and grammar, using it for ideas and brainstorming. So like as they're using the assignments or using these kind of like levels with the assignments, they're kind of teaching them the gist of what AI is and how it can work with, but there's nothing, I guess, within our digital literacy stuff right now that's specifically for AI. All right, and I just want to continue on just some of the other technology integrations that we've done. Something that is a little bit different at our elementary school compared to our middle school and high school. Our makerspace classes, we've kind of moved from that if you build it, you come, to having, you know, solid courses at the middle school and high school, Makers 7, Maker 8, Makerspace 1 and 2 at the high school. So the kids come in, they learn to use the equipment, and then we have kids coming in before school, after school, and other times of using it. Our elementary schools don't have that same availability. There's no electives for it. So we're really relying on our staff, our teachers, to try to find ways to integrate into their classroom. So one of the hard part about it is like, what do we have and what can it do? So one of the things that I work with Jenny Zacharias, one of our building techs, and with I believe it's called the Tech Task Force over at Kinsner with Lou, is we took the common elements or common tools that we have in all of our makerspaces, and we made this kind of scope and sequence, this little image on the board here, which talks about across the top is what grade levels there are, and then on the left-handed side there's like categories like coding, robotics, and I don't want to say like creativity. So basically we take them and we just say, what is the primary grades that these are made for? Like the IndyCars, they're made for like K to 2. But if you look after that, there is still a little bit of a dark bars, and you can use it in any grade. Because honestly, IndyCars, we use them in our high school and middle school for collaboration, teamwork, to teach kids how to work together in teams. But then we have other ones that kind of also show a gradual growth, like from Ozobots to Spheros. How they can naturally progress with each other. And then another part of this document is ease of use. There's 3 levels. You can say you put it in front of a kid and say, go at it, and that's level 1. Level 2 is there's a little bit of prior knowledge that's needed, and level 3 there is some type of direct instruction needed. So when teachers are looking at this, they can say, okay, I want to do IndyCars, and they can flip, or the other document, in some cases just printed on the back, is, all right, IndyCars are a level 1, I can just do these with my kids and that's no problem. But if I want to do something like Spheros, and it's a level 2, well, I guess I might have to learn something about it first before I work with it with my kids. It's been a nice visual aid that we've got a lot of positive feedback on, and then we hope to grow it as we get more, kind of differentiate some of our tools as well.
Is the Tech Task Force wearing hats and jackets?
I don't know. I've never actually attended one of their meetings, but it sounds
because
like that would
looking
be
at
fun.
employee well-being, matching Spirit Day T-shirts might work well for them.
Maybe.
With hats, like the FBI.
I was thinking more like pocket protectors, but and then the other one is, refreshing our programs that we've done, our essential and fundamental programs. It's always nice to, every once in a while, take a program or two and kind of focus on it to remind people what we have. Jessica Frenchick does a great job with Pear Deck, and along with some of our other teachers like Carla, who is here. They are actually certified Pear Deck coaches.
Experts.
So to kind of rehash every once in a while, like, hey, this is a program, this is how we can use it with all grade levels and different components of SEL, and then also with, with the actual instruction of the material and content. It's been great to rehash for some of our teachers, even in our DLTs, that some of our teachers are like, oh yeah, I haven't used that in about a year or 2, I should probably get back into it. And then Screencastify is just another way for our students to record themselves on their Chromebooks, and either share a story or practice a speech or to explain a problem. It's just something that is such an easy thing to do, is to click a button and have the kids talk about it, and then there's ways now that can directly go to Google Classroom, so they only have to hit one more button, and then it's submitted as a class assignment. That they can view, their teachers can view, or their peers can view for a way of peer review.
Thanks, Dave.
I tried to be short.
Yeah, that was good. We had the conference information first, so that's okay. All right, as I talked for Andy earlier, he wanted to highlight restorative practices as really a proactive approach to helping with student behavior. So we have Katie Hawk, our principal at Whitney Elementary, that's going to share a little bit about what she's done as a building leader with her building.
So as we've had a year under our belts with restorative practice work and circles in the classroom, it's really gotten a lot of the teachers to reflect on some of the positive changes that they've seen with their students in the classroom. And one thing that I've seen the most is students are really building confidence in themselves. A lot of our students who may have been a little bit quieter and kept things in, they now have the confidence to talk and share about their feelings. It's really built a lot of trusting relationships with students. And the other thing that's great with Whitney is we have a very diverse population of kids. And it's really helped us to connect with each other, not just on a personal level, but also a cultural level. So it's allowed us to really learn different strengths that we all have and bring to the table. And it's just really formed a great sense of community in our classrooms. Oftentimes, when we look at some of the things that cause us not to be able to have that high quality instruction that we want, it goes back to what is impacting that. So sometimes it is student behavior. Sometimes it's emotions that students are feeling. And so that really drove the idea of learning more about the restorative practice work. What we decided to focus on was something called circles. And circles is 80% proactive, which means 80% of the time, if you do circles routinely in your classroom, it will help to support that building a sense of community where you won't see those behaviors happen and take place. And so really what that does is it provides an equitable learning experience for all students. So that way you can get to the academics because you've already met those social, emotional, behavioral needs in our students. You know, I always believe that if we want to do something well, we have to really develop the clarity among everybody who we're asking to do this work. So last school year, we spent a lot of time, all of our staff at our staff meeting worked with a consultant from the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio. And she helped lead the work in developing the why behind restorative practices, the benefits that we see. And then we spent some time actually practicing and modeling what this looks like in the classroom. That way it built the teacher's capacity. And then we had a book study focus group who really drove the work at Whitney with restorative practices and different strategies that we could use in the classroom to help support students. The idea behind restorative practices is it is a positive way to build a community and a connection between students and their peers, and then also between students and their teachers. So it builds a sense of belonging in the classroom, and it provides students with a sense of comfort to know that they have people who are accepting of them.
So I had the privilege this week to actually go over to Whitney, and I was in one of their teacher-based teams. And before they got started, I was talking with the teacher, and we were talking about Tier 1 instruction and all of the focus that we have this year. And she mentioned restorative practices. And Katie, you know, as she said, she spent a whole year on it before. And what was really cool to see or to hear was that the teacher mentioned it. And I said, "Oh, are you still doing that?" She said, "All the time. Absolutely." And so that's really what we want, and Katie mentioned it too, that it really does improve the classroom environment. You know, she said that, you know, by doing this in the morning and we kind of get around and we talk about our emotions and our feelings, it kind of, I have an awareness of what each child is coming in with. We're able to talk about it, and so it's really improved her teaching. So I thought that was a great thing to hear, that not only did I learn it last year, but now I'm still doing it, and that's the goal. So again, just a few extra things to mention here, that, you know, there is a stronger teacher-student relationships. This practice is really about, you know, sitting down with students and understanding what they're going through. And it just, again, when somebody knows that you care about them and that you're really interested in what else is going on in their life, not only what their math scores are or their social studies stuff is, it matters. And they're able to get to know their students on a deeper level. You know, and it pushes past just punishment is the answer, but it reinforces that positive behavior that we want to see. It promotes that to say it's just not about punishment. It's about a proactive approach that we can, you know, catch kids and help them understand how their behavior impacts others before we get to that punishment part. And then again, we're just seeing that long-term impact because we're able to identify the root causes of the behavior, really what's going on with that student. And helping them to encourage reflection. Why are you feeling this way? What happened? How did it impact other people? Trying to get that empathy component out, which again is one of our Model Mustang competencies, and just so that they make better decisions in the future, leading to more positive approaches and positive behavior in the future. And as Katie said, if we can get the behavior in a good spot, we definitely can get the learning going. The last piece we have for you is deeper learning. So we have our principal, Bill Wingler from the high school, that is going to not only talk about deeper learning at the high school level, but what he does in terms of what systems he creates to foster that agency so that teachers are more apt to take risks in the classroom and develop better strategies.
The teachers here have a lot of agency because they have a lot of control and a lot of choice. They have choice in what they want to develop and how they develop their skill set. And in having that choice, they are an invested partner in the process, which helps them not only feel empowered, but they're totally invested in what they're doing because they're the ones doing the research, the learning, and taking it from there. What I'm really proud of is the fact that rather than a traditional system where we tell teachers we want you to do ABC and they may or may not do it, they may listen, they may not feel engaged, is that teachers are almost always leading that. And a lot of the things that have happened here, the really innovative stuff, the deeper learning examples have come from and are originated by teachers who have led our PD and are as engaged in the follow-up as much as any administrator really in the building. It's a challenge to change. And I think one of the things about education is teachers often are on an island. They spend 85% of their day not around their peers. It's different than most professions. Teachers here have begun to take risk. We've created a culture of innovation because A, they know that administration will support them, but B, more importantly, they're able to get feedback on what's working and what isn't working from their peers. And what makes me really proud about that is that, it is not uncommon in this building during a teacher-based time to see math with social studies, science with English, cross-curricular projects, teachers who are doing new grading practices or doing new types of learning will often go to another teacher and go, this is what I did. It didn't really go the way I wanted it to, but I see some progress. And they're giving each other feedback, which I think builds confidence. And it creates a culture where you're okay if things aren't perfect because you know you're headed in a direction. What we've created is a leadership tiered structure that the principals aren't the only leaders. There's leaders at every level in the building, and I just think it makes people feel supported, and it makes people, if I take a risk and I don't give homework for a while, it's okay because I have someone else in my building. I can just walk down the hall and ask, how's this going? And that's what's happening. They're just communicating all the time because the leaders, there's so many layers of leadership here that we've created a system of really communication and collaboration.
So again, I like to tell some stories, but as you heard Bill talk about, teachers are taking risks at the high school. He's super proud, and he shared it, and we shared it with our DLT, and he keeps sharing it. But there was a co-teaching team at the high school that took some risks and did some different things in their classroom. And the scores that they got back, some of the students that, when you're in a co-taught class, there are students that have specially designed instruction in that class, as well as general education students. And their scores actually outscored the other general education classes. So students that have struggles in their learning actually did better. And one of the foundational pieces that they put into place was allowing students to track their own progress and create their own goals so that they knew exactly where they were and where they had to go. And so some of the times we get nervous about creating a deeper learning experience and making sure we're doing skills as well as content, because we're nervous if we take the time to do some of those skill stuff and where the kids are collaborating and doing those things that our scores will suffer. We won't get through as much. But we're seeing the opposite at the high school. The scores are really, in all areas, are just going through the roof, and so we're super excited about that. But again, Bill is creating that system where he's creating that agency for teachers to explore new things, to try new things, to research new things, and it's just really exciting. From our, just overall as a district, from our, academic cult team and our instructional pieces that we're putting together, to our district coaches, to our building coaches, to all of our administrators, I just feel that we're building this coherence where we're all on the same page, we're all working together and moving forward together, and it's just something really to be proud of. Obviously, our goal is to create learning experiences that focus both on skills and content, and so that we engage the learner differently. And as our statement says, we want to engage the learner we have today to build tomorrow's leaders, so that is our ultimate goal. So hopefully through everything that you saw, we do want to do those foundational pieces of, literacy and textbooks and making sure we have those strategies in place and looking at data, and obviously the tech and then the behavioral side as well. And if we feel that we do those well, we're going to move closer to creating those deeper learning experiences for our students. So just a few more things. We're making connections. Hopefully you can see that through the work that we're doing. It's important that our teachers make connections to some of the traditional things that they've done so that they can add on to that and enhance that. We don't throw everything out. They need to make those connections so that they can create those experiences. I think clarity is a huge piece of it through our professional development. I know it's a lot of days, but because we have the time, we're not only able to just introduce something, but teachers then have ample time to work together and collaborate and figure out, how is this going to work in my classroom? And as you heard what Bill said, we have teachers leading teachers, so they're able to speak that language and make things stick and find it meaningful. And then finally, it's so important to develop our capacity in this work. And so, we've been using our coaches so much. They've been a huge help. Our district coaches are actually leading the building coaches. It's not us doing the professional development, it's directly from them. And then their TBT, teacher-based team discussions are, they're working together to ensure that this is our plan, we're going to follow the plan, we're going to implement it, and we're going to make adjustments as needed. And then, again, it's just so important to provide what's needed for every single group and develop measurable checkpoints to ensure the work is progressing. So I will pause there. I'm not sure what happened to my computer, but any questions for us with AI, restorative practices, or anything with deeper learning? Any last thoughts from the board?
How do we know AI didn't create that entire presentation?
Yeah.
You have the remote, turn it back on.
Huh?
Turn it back on. It goes, after so long, it goes, turns off.
Did you hear it click? Okay.
How it was informative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you guys put a lot of time
You
and
guys
effort.
worked hard, yeah. So that's a lot of extra work.
I think of, my parenting. My children started school 20 years ago, and just how the world has evolved, and how, you are keeping up with that and evolving with the outside world. I appreciate, and I'm in awe. I know this takes you guys a lot of time to do, but I feel like I kind of have a glimpse into your days now, and I appreciate that. And I have a deeper appreciation for what you guys all do, so thank you.
And look how good they look at 9 p.m. Hair's curled, everything like that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Did you want me to continue with the superintendent's report? or-
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Jenny,
Yeah.
please.
All right, so we have no items under business services or curriculum this evening. We do have 2 items under student services. We have a agreement with J. Burke PhD and Associates for a placement of a student with disabilities. And we also have a resolution that the exhibit here be approved. George, I can't see, do these require a vote?
I think the second one
The
does.
second one does, yes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcik, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Does anyone need any discussion about the resolution? Everyone's had time?
It is
Okay.
resolved.
All right, George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ryan, did you want to come up and do your section there? I mean, since you're
You might
still
as
here.
well.
So, okay. This will go much quicker. I have the following items in human resources for your consideration. Item 1, resignation, certificated. Item 2, resignations, non-certificated. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. That brings us to our consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type action consent, which items constitute the consent calendar, are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board or the superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there anybody that needs anything removed? All right, hearing none. George, can you take the roll?
Was it Haley and Jared?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't, yes.
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Ms. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have second reading of board bylaws and policies. Again, there are several different bylaws and policies. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to Michelle or Haley about that. Next, we have Board of Education miscellaneous / other. Does anyone have any others? All right. And that brings us to executive session, and we do have need for executive session tonight to
Consider the employment of a public employee and to prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Haley, second by Sharon. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion passes. We do not see any need to come back and have any other public discussions, so want to wish everybody a good night, and we hope Dr. Aribo feels better.
And what time are we entering executive session?
We are entering executive session at 9:10. Sorry, George.
Stepped right to the plate.
Have a good night, everyone.